is really very close to my heart. I would really like to know the audience, like from which kind of area they're from. There might be students. I've got some messages from my students in Saudi Arabia, also in Pakistan and Australia. So I might be expecting some of my participants were there. However, I would also like to know what's your background? Like, for example, if you're an educator or you're working in a corporation, or for example, is it business, or so that I can tailor some of the content that's already there, but I can give you more example that make relevant to your profession. So employability and business skills. As it says, sometimes we are, when we're looking at employability, we are very concerned about thinking that what actually employability is. We might also sometimes get a little bit narrowly focused into our own areas. Like, for example, if I'm a researcher, I'm sometimes only trying to think about how to navigate my profession only in that particular thing. So today, the purpose of today's workshop actually is to enhance your knowledge information based on some of the training that I've done and some of my professional experiences as to how we can understand employability specifically with reference to yourself. So I would be talking about a number of things. For example, if I will be looking at how I can make this more relevant to myself. Okay, so just 1 minute. So just a little bit about my background. I've done PhD in accounting. So that means that my background is mostly from business and accounting and auditing context. However, I have been working as a lecturer, as a higher education lecturer, online learning advisor. Also, I've worked in some project management work. I've also worked as an accountant, as an auditor. So today, when I'm going to talk with you about employability, I will be actually mixing and matching some of the different kinds of industries that I've been exposed in the past 15 years. And also thinking about what is the current situation of employability in the market. Given my context that I worked in the Middle East, I've also worked in Australia, and my education was from Pakistan. So I'm going to give you a little bit more multicultural kind of you can say a map of what employability currently holds. I'm also a member of a public accountants. So looking at accounting and business perspective, I also want you to use an enhanced lens of understanding employability in terms of business, or in terms of your using some of the business skills that we teach every day for people who are working in the corporations, as how we can integrate them into enhancing our employability skills. So that means that the seminar is not specific for people who have done accounting, or for example, for professionals who are working in the marketing or specifically in HR or IT fields. However, the seminar is also relevant for those people who are working with young children, probably, or educators, or working in universities, because I want you to think that, like, open your lens, like, think outside the box, make a little bit, try to get out maximum from it, and then translate that information and try to implement it into your unique situation. So this is the purpose of today's lecture. Okay, so here, what I'm going to talk about today is, we have 3 stages. So I'm going to give you a little bit background as to how these 3 stages are relevant in any professional career. So okay, I'll give a very real example. What currently I'm doing, I'm a lecturer, I've done PhD in accounting. This was actually plan C, in fact, plan D of my career. So that means plan A, B, and C actually didn't work out. Okay, so the most important thing is that when I'm thinking about my career, I need to do some homework on who I am, what actually I have, what is in front of me, and then I can make a better decision. The first step is skill evaluation. Skill evaluation means that I need to know what skills I have. So I'll be thinking about, we will discuss in detail about your formal education role. So for example, if you're an accountant, you should know accounting. Okay, so that means that your subject, the degree that you're holding in your hand, you should be very good at doing that job. So it is really important. So when you're looking at your personal skills evaluation is the first step. So you should know. Some people are very good at speaking. Some people are very good at writing. Some students I encounter are very good at their creative writing, but they would never speak up in the class. Okay, so that means all of us have this unique set that ingrained in our upbringing, we get it, either it's heredity or genetics play a lot of role, and what kind of a person we are, our environment, our education, our upbringing, the cultural context in which we were brought up. So we're also going to talk about some theories in which we look at how we learn things, right? So that means my personal skill evaluation depends upon who I am as a unique and a different person. Okay, so I will keep that in mind whenever I'm thinking about my future, or my thinking about my utilizing these skills to identify my future career goals. So this is important. Secondly, one thing that I want my students and young professionals to know is multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary training. Okay, so currently doctors are doing coding. Okay. Currently, behavioral psychologists are actually working in the criminal department, right? So we are looking at things, and we are looking at relationships between different disciplines, that how each discipline is actually contributing to your skills in another discipline. I cannot be a very good teacher until or unless I know how Canvas works, how Moodle works, what is online teaching. I should know the theory of learning. I should know how to talk to students. I should know how to motivate students. I should know how to mentor students. And that is apart from that, I should also know accounting, right? So that means we are talking about multidisciplinary, you can say, indicators in your personality and in your training or in your education that are going to help you to come up with something different that you are. And this is what you're supposed to put on your CV. Okay, so this is what you're supposed to show to the employer, that you are different. Okay, so they're going to have millions and millions of job applications. And I was looking at some data, even in the Middle East, I experienced it, even in Australia. So currently, the unemployment is increasing. So this is very, drastic situation for the graduates of today. That means you're in competition with so many people. So your CV is actually in competition with a number of very good potential candidates. So how are you going to make sure that it's a little bit different from, the rest of the population? So this is something, unique skills. You need to identify what is unique in you, and you also need to put forward in a way that it makes sense and it's also is attractive to the employer. Okay, so that's apart from what quantitative and technical skills you are expected to know. Okay, so you want to work as an educator, you should be able to know how to make a development plan. Okay, now it's a very basic thing. You should be able to know how to develop some learning objectives based on student development. If you're an early educator, if you're in high school, if you're in the university, we're talking about different stages here, right? So that means that your specific knowledge again will get up, and then it's gonna stand out. So these are some things that's basic. While we are presenting or doing, trying to understand our skills evaluation, we need to think very creatively. Why? Because the thing that I'm going to put on my CV is going to exhibit that what kind of a person I am. And that means that I need to show them that apart from these unique skill set that I have, I also have the ability to use those skills with professional intelligence. That means that I am not that. So that means emotional intelligence is a skill that I need to be, ready to share and show and give some examples in my CV or in my cover letter or in my professional career or during the interview, so that the employer can see that not only I have these, transferable and multiple skills, but I'm able to integrate them into how I'm going to do and finish my job. So the second stage in some of the employability workshops that we have conducted over the time, we encourage students, and not only students. Here we are talking about adult learners. Okay, so I'm thinking about people who are of my age, who are in the middle ages, and even who are professionally. So those who do very good, what's the reason behind that? They never stop learning. They are always doing something online. They are always enrolled in a class. They are always trying to find free, something like a training activity. They're trying to get. So when I think about although I'll give you an example. So let's see if I want to stick to accounting or a particular subject. But nowadays, these subjects have to be developed or understood differently, because the accountants nowadays have to go outside and work with big data. They have to work with cryptocurrency. They have to work with data mining. They have to know gamification. So they need to know what is Internet of Things. So all these things, if the accountants of today are not aware of how much technology has been integrated into their profession, they won't be able to perform good. Similar for anybody else. Now, let's give you another example, most examples from business context, because that's where my most experience is. But however, I was asking, like I was talking to a young child, and he wanted to ask me that I want to do health coding. Okay, so this was a question, he was just discussing with me, and he's in grade 12. Okay, so he just said that I saw a reel about it somewhere and I found it so interesting. So health coding, I always wanted to be a doctor, but I think health coding is something so attractive that I want to know about it. Okay, so what we're talking about a doctor, someone who wants to be in that area. So this is skills improvement. So you want to have a baseline of skills like your professional or formal education, and top of that you should have some add-ons that's going to help you improve your CV. So this is something we can use a number of ways to do that. We can learn more things. So for example, if we are educators, yes, we love to teach science, but we won't be able to be very good educators if we do not learn how currently science is being taught in the schools that are the best in the world. Right? So we need to know and take a look at some examples which are on the internet. As we have vast information, like so much information available, we are able to look at, lesson plans. We are able to look at, especially when I look at a very good example is actually Khan Lab School, the Saul Khan, and the Khan Academy. It's very good. We see what they are exactly doing in the classroom. So we can use some of the examples from there. So this means that we are going to use research. So we will research and look for something that's going to help us improve ourselves. So this is what skills improvement, as most of which I recommend my students, that they should never leave it, even if they are the first year of their undergraduate, postgraduate, specifically for MBA students, or specifically people who are doing a specialized degree. And on top of that, they are doing a degree that's a little bit different from that, or maybe it's complementing to their existing knowledge. So even if you have done certificate or a diploma and you think that you are working very fine, it's a very good idea to find something that can complement it, that can add, that can improve your CV. Okay. So the last step that sometimes we miss, and I'm also had a number of years in learning this. Yes, I do all that. I try to do all that, but I am not implementing all those things practically in my job hunting strategies. Right? Okay, I have done a course on AI. Okay, now what? I know a little bit about AI. Okay, now what should I do? So what I'm going to do with that? So that means if I have some skill improvement, my CV or my experience or my part-time job or any like side hustle, or maybe like some, work from home or at Fiverr or somewhere, it should be exhibited. Okay, so that means I need to know. Sometimes, like when I started my PhD, I met a professor, and she gave me a very good example of someone asked me that, what's the most benefit of getting a PhD? And please note that this is no way a suggestion that any one of you should do PhD. PhD is very hard. However, if you are, if you have this capacity to do research and you really like it, then you are welcome. But my personal experience, no, don't do PhD. Okay. So I met a professor. So she told me, someone asked her that, what's the benefit of doing PhD? She said, when I call someone and, they're not available, like it was 10 years ago, maybe at that time, not very frequent emails or Snapchats and all that. So she said that when I call someone and I tell them that Dr. Florence, can you please tell them to call back? It's Dr. Florence. So no matter what, they always call back. Due to this, that there might be some life-threatening situation involved because Dr. Florence called. So that was very interesting. So she said, I have used non-traditional job hunting strategies. First, I do my research. Whenever I find a job that I really like, but I think that what I do, I actually make connections. I go and talk informally about the job. I would send them messages. I would do some work on LinkedIn. I would also I just need some information about. So that means that she said that she was a very famous like a career consultant, but she said that I always have used non-traditional job hunting techniques. I would never go on Seek or spend all my weekends on working on my 25 and 35 resumes. So rather I would make phone calls, try to meet people, try to make connections, try to ask about their company, just a research question, or maybe try to send them a survey or a questionnaire. So she said that I work on always a different way. So I found her advice quite useful, and I've seen in my like around me, in some instances that people have been able to get boost up their employability, or at least their skills are more, you can say, visible to the audience, or maybe their skills are more visible on LinkedIn or any other social or like employability platform that is relevant. Again, let's go back to implementation again. So when talking about implementation, another thing that I see, yes, I have done all that. I've done the homework, but where and how on my resume and CV and my cover letter and my responses and my session criteria, how I should be doing all that. We'll try to do a little bit, like kind of a little bit, examples today regarding this. Okay, now, so as I discussed, you just take a look at that cycle again and see if you can make a little homework or a little small note for yourself as to what you want to achieve from this particular stages. You need to identify your unique skill set. Okay, so I'm talking about you as a graduate of a particular domain, you as a person from a particular religious or cultural background, you as a person with a specific personality, being very good at numbers, being very good at arts, being very good at expression, being very good at writing, being very good at narrative, or maybe excellent at coding, okay, or even very good at gaming, and even like very good at customer service. So that means we are talking about mixing and matching and thinking where I stand. Okay, so it's a very good idea to make some columns and try to write what's the best skills that you think that you can do, the work that you can do easily. So why I emphasize here, so if I'm comfortable in speaking, then why don't find a job in which I speak? Why don't try to find a job? If I'm comfortable in writing, why don't I try to find a job where I have to just write more, sit in the corner and just do my job? Okay, realistic career plan, very important. So if you want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be an astronaut, yes, I know, I understand, everybody has aspirations, but life happens and life is not always very fair. Okay, so there is no harm in making a plan A and also making a plan B, because there's a high chance that plan A might not work. Okay, so we have to be very open to what's coming in front of us. So realistic career planning, it's something that I always encourage my students. Plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, usually because I work with like MBAs and a number of people who are doing also in the like in this HR and this area of recruitment. So I encounter a lot of these examples in which I see that people are changing and being a little bit more flexible in their careers. And tell you what, so I was looking at like some data from like people from some like a group of friends who graduated many years ago, and they were trying to measure and see that how much they have been successful. Okay, so if they have been successful, the ones who changed and switched between different careers and had more flexibility were more successful. So this is what they were discussing. One of the friend who just kept in the same company, in the same state, in the same profession, how much successful he was, and the other one who took some risks in jumping between different industries and different. So this was like real data that they published, and I read about it. So this shows that we have to, there's no harm in making this kind of a career plan. Okay, again, transferable skills. So I'm a lawyer, yes, but I would also, because I have to work with people who have serious problems in their life, that means that I have to be empathetic. I need, my communication is the most important thing in being an excellent lawyer. How I'm going to convince a number of people or a group of people that my this defendant or my customer or my client here is not guilty. Okay, so that means I need some of these things. So depending upon which and how many these multidisciplinary skills you can adopt and add on to your existing profession is a game changer. Lifelong learning, the more I emphasize it, it's extremely important, especially at this age. How many versions of this chat GDP, or what is happening in the last 6 to 7 months, what is happening to the international trading, what is happening in now currently, we are looking at people being hired by the big four firms through a gamification assessment. Okay, So gone are the days when we tell our kids that, stop doing that. This gamification is, it's no more useless anymore. This is a psychological warfare. Actually, there is information about how people behave in a particular game. You can actually use that data to understand about their skills, okay, and understand about their particular need. So this is becoming so crucial. So again, looking at how much you are a lifelong learner, this is going to be quite helpful. Documentation. So here again, I see my students and even myself. I have, especially if I'm looking at a seminar I was supposed to present next week, and I didn't put it in my CV. So other day I was thinking that it should be there. Okay, so that means if I've done something, there's a little bit career change, there's a little bit improvement, there's something that I have, done differently, or there was something that I learned somewhere, I attended somewhere, I read something on the LinkedIn, and it is quite relevant and quite important for me. I should not delay, in updating my CV. So this is something that I always encourage my students to keep on doing that, right? Okay, so let's go back to you and your employability. So you have the homework. So how are you going to do that homework? As I talked about personal values in the start, so thinking about ethics, empathy, kindness, all these things that are sometimes extremely relevant for a particular role. Okay, think about a kindergarten teacher. So we see that in kindergarten, yes, we have very exceptional male teachers as well. However, most of the kindergarten, female teachers are mothers and, are females, and yet we have like a different, we have other people as well working in that area. However, when I see, because why? The kindergarten teacher has to have those specific motherly, very empathetic, kind, supportive, kind of skills that are required for that role, right? So that means when we think about how people behave, thinking about the social kaleidoscope in which we live, and also looking at how we need to have that particular thing in our CV or in our examples or in our experiences, so that the employer can take a second look at our CV, so that we have a better chance of being selected. When we talk about cultural and other values that we have, one of the things that has drastically I have learned while working as an auditor and also as an accountant is the experiential learning. So experience, okay, how you are going to show on your CV that you have learned that thing from your experience. Okay, so there are things that you learn in the classroom. There are things that you learn like, by doing an assessment, like a formative or summative assessment. There are things that you learn from your home. However, there are things that you learn from your experience in the professional atmosphere, and trust me, those are the most difficult and the most painful learnings that you have done. Okay, so that means you yourself should be able to identify how you have used this experiential learning theory and how you have experienced a particular situation and how you're going to navigate it and show it in your documents or in your CV to the employer as an example, or as like kind of a response, or as something that during the interview. So there are many ways of doing it. However, you need to find some very good examples. So if I worked in like 4 to 5 organizations in the last 5 years, and let me think that which one of those I worked better in, and were there very good experiences to learn from, and maybe sometimes I didn't have a very good experience. Okay, so if the work was too challenging, or sometimes the working environment was too challenging. So what we're talking about here, we're talking about real experiences. So we are not only going to talk about our qualifications or our job responsibilities. Okay, so this is very important. So in my CV, a list of job responsibilities, it's a CV, it's not an ad for the job. Like, it's not an ad on Seek or on LinkedIn that you are required to do this. No, you are required to do this, yes, but how will you show the employer? So here, remember that your experiential learning will play a very important role. When we talk about technical knowledge, again, I cannot emphasize it more. If you want to work as a like you can say, like in administration, you need to know Excel, PowerPoint, basic Word documentation, email, IT, simple troubleshooting, organization of data, sending information to. So what are we doing? So we are talking about some specific formal. I have seen people to find a job even if they do not have a major qualification in that field. Why? Because they have some technical knowledge, right? So I have met so many of my students who have done undergraduate in different subjects, but they were able to do a postgraduate certificate in data science, and they did so well, or probably they were, they upgraded their skills, that they are now working in a company which is in this domain. So there is a high chance. So your technical knowledge and formal qualification are just like, cherry on the top. So that means you need to find something or add on to that. So some people I know in my field in accounting, so they would always look up for a qualification or a certification in that particular domain, because they think that it's extremely relevant to have that on top of their formal education. So you need to remind yourself, or maybe think about some of the areas. As I already talked about, transferable skills, it's very common, and actually this is more going to be more common in the future as we are going in the AI era, and we also see that some things and some jobs are being replaced, and so they are being. So that means that we should be open to work in different flexible environments, and we should be able to use skills learned in a particular industry and apply them in a different role or in a different industry. So we can successfully do this by learning IT, technological integration. I talk about this very much to my students, and they cannot emphasize it more. Nowadays, your CV is not going anywhere if it doesn't highlight that how much you are well at integrating technology into your job or into your future learning. So this is something. Risk assessment and cost benefit analysis. When we talk about this, is a very basic term that we do, like it's a very basic information that we discuss in accounting. Making decisions. You want to apply for a job. So what are the things? So what I do, a very simple diagram. On one side, I just write the plus points. On the one side, I just write the negative points. So that means if I see that applying for this particular job, I want to make a decision based on how much I will get from that, or how much I have to input on that. If the input is very high and the output I don't see, I might not make that decision. So that means in most of my decision-making processes, I need to do a little bit of business management, a little bit of business like acumen, a little bit of business application to help me decide in a favor of something that is less costly, or you can say less difficult to achieve. So a lot of young people nowadays, they're very good at this skill, and some countries in year 12, like how we arrange the curriculum, by year 12 they are taught this basic decision making tool to do a specific cost benefit analysis, and you can use that also not only in your job search but also in the kind of job, and also the way how you show that whether you have the ability to make the decision or not. So this is something that's quite relevant. Okay, so we're thinking about company. Now, there are some very important things that I want you to see here. Why should they hire you? Okay. Now, I want to work in, okay, let's see. I'm not sure if I can show you. I'll have to share it again. Okay, let's see. I want to work Aramco. Okay, I know a lot of people. So let's give you a specific, like an example from Saudi Arabia. Okay, so I want to work in Aramco. How will I know what is the requirement of that company? I know Aramco is like a leader in sustainability, and mostly they work in petroleums. This is a national oil company. It's very important. They also look at energy, transport, materials, so a number of things that they do. However, something that's at the heart of Aramco is how they treat the people. Anyone who works at Aramco would never like to leave it. Right. So what actually Aramco is, it's sustainability, it's commitment towards the people. Okay, so usually we treat sustainability in terms of profit, people, and planet. Okay, so we're talking about 3 P's here. So in my CV, which I sent to Aramco, I failed actually to integrate how I can contribute to that. Okay, so that means there's a clear missing link in my CV to what Aramco does, what Aramco actually is. Okay, Aramco is a people's company. So what they do, their approach to sustainability is so unique and so different. Societal and environmental factors are at the top. Okay, yes, profit is there. So what I am going to do to offer or to contribute to that, this is what I am expected to show in my CV. And hopefully, well, I cannot be sure, but so that's why company research is so important. When they write on Google, go and take a look at the company before you are preparing for the interview. Yeah, we open it, we take a look at it. No, we need to do a little bit homework. You need to know about their strategy, you need to know about their sustainability approach, you need to know about what exactly they are. Companies are legal persons, right? So companies have their specific unique core values, strategies, objectives, strategies, long-term goals. So what defines a company? So you need to know this information about your dream company before you can do that. In your CV, this is an important slide. If you're working on your CV, you can just use some of these words. When we talk about these words are not just about my responsibilities. Okay, so these words are about how I tell the employer that how I have achieved this. Okay, let's see. I have written, so for example, my job is like kind of a secretary or an administration assistant, in which I always write a lot of things. Okay, so writing, or you can say like emailing. Okay, however, if I take a look at some of these words, they are actually better than what I do. Okay, let's see. Compiled, composed, coordinated. Okay, let's see. Edited, generated, helped, identified, implemented, initiated, maintained, reviewed, resolved, programmed, prepared. Okay, see that. And some of very good words that for our teachers, if we have some educators here in the audience: advised, clarified, coached, consulted, coordinated. So it's up to you whether you want to write on your CV that I have been teaching this for the last 6 years, or you can actually use some of these words to specifically identify how you have used your teaching to make an impact, or how you have used your teaching to improve or achieve your aspirations, not only as a person, but as a very good teacher. And one thing which I have seen over the years has really worked is some of your personal like kind of feedback that you get from your parents. The other day I received a message from other part of the world from a student who just graduated, and she was my student for a few years, and it was such a beautiful and powerful message that I'm gonna keep it and save it in my portfolio. Right? So she was so kind to tell me that how much I have helped her to gain her confidence, and how much I was an inspiration to her when she had a very difficult time in her first semester in the university. So this is something very personal, right? However, this can go into my portfolio. This shows that I was able to achieve some of the things that I was supposed to do as a university lecturer. Yes, I was supposed to teach accounting. Yeah, I did that. But I motivated a person who was feeling extremely overwhelmed and not able to start university, and I made sure that they, I consulted them, coordinated, facilitated, guided, and look at that word, inspired. See that? Mentored. So these are the things that should be on your CV if you want to make it more, you can say, impactful. So you can use anything. I like a number of resources. You can look at Canva. You can see a number of resume builders nowadays. AIs everywhere. So you can have any format. However, what's supposed to be in the format? Let's see. Remember to read your resume many times. Even if I read at this stage of my career, in which I have to so many writing and lecturing and making tutorials and lectures, still sometimes it's very normal for me to make a spelling mistake, and you might actually see a spelling mistake here on the screen as well, right? Which probably will come in a few slides. Okay, so that means that you need to keep on reviewing and revising and try to make error-free resumes. Very important. Choose a simple design with less color, less, not for the marketing people. You can do whatever you want. I know you're very creative, and that marketing, and especially also for the people who do logo design, those, yes, you should, give your heart out if you're very good at creativity, very good at color selection. However, blues and grays and whites, some of these colors always go very good in a professional resume. So it's up to you. Try to summarize things. Very important. So in a resume, I don't want it to be very, very long until unless it's an academic resume in which you have a list of, 25 publications, 35 conferences, and, God knows whatnot and whatnot. However, if it's not that, try to make it more concise. Okay, so how you can make it concise. Instead of writing a full sentence, try to write some dot points. Sorry, about what you achieved in a particular role. Okay, so this is something. Also take a look at some of your achievement in terms of impact. When I talk about impact means that how you have contributed. Okay, so impact is important. Okay, so usually in every job application, I suggest my students to apply for 3 documents, prepare 3 documents. Okay, so the first document here that I was talking about is your basic resume or CV. Okay, so you can use that. The second document is a cover letter. That is actually, that is actually like targeted to the, the company. How you're gonna approach them, how you're gonna show. So there are something that have to be in the cover letter. You can find very good formats. However, make sure that these of some of the 4 or 5 things that I've written here should be included in your cover letter. For example, your employment summary, a little bit of work and previous, what is your qualification, why you're relevant to that post. So I am writing to apply for this particular post, and based on this, my qualification and my experience, I think that I'm suitable. So the first paragraph is very important. Usually when they take a look at the first paragraph, they're going to take a look at how, which kind of language you use and how you have actually linked your personal qualifications and experiences and your skills with the strategy of the organization, and how they are meeting with each other and how they are linking with each other. Formal. So the cover letter has to be more formal. You have to use like good language, good structure, and it has to also be very courteous. Okay, so you need to write very politely. So these are some things that my students I expect. Okay, let's take a look at some example of selection criteria. So this is the third document. So whenever you apply for a job, we have a list of things that they require. Please respond to this particular selection criteria. Okay, so let's see. For example, look at this first key selection criteria, one example. They expected us to use, we should have advanced computer skills. Okay, so let's see how I'm going to write it. It's a very simple, plain example. You can, change it according to your circumstances or according to the particular skills that you are working on. Okay, let's see. Advanced computer skills. As a personal assistant to the marketing manager at SYZ Enterprises, about half my time was spent preparing letters and reports for clients using Word. I also used detailed information in Excel spreadsheets to prepare graphs and tables to demonstrate the results of market research and to analyze client company performance, right? And I often prepared major PowerPoint presentations for my manager and maintained a database of her contacts. And I also managed my daily emails and search for information on the internet to answer questions. This is a very simple selection criteria response for a very basic kind of administration or a personal assistant job. Okay, so you can make it very good if you're applying for a very high level or a different kind of a job. However, you can still use the same format. Take a look at the last example here. It's about a teacher. Okay, let's see. My observant nature, organizational skills, and motivation are invaluable to this particular role. Being observant is an important skill for any marketing role. In my previous position at the Highland Gallery, I recognized the needs of the target audience were not fully satisfied. In response, I dedicated time to improve one of the gallery's key exhibitions over the school holidays and make it more child-friendly. So that means some of the examples I can use from this selection criteria. Okay, so when we go towards the end, there is some feedback. If you don't get a job, it's fine. Just send them an email and ask them that what was missing. So these are some of the points that I have seen over the years in which companies want you to show how you are strategically relevant to their objective. So this is important. And also you need to show your action and results. That means that you can use some statistics, some numbers. This is called as the STAR method. STAR method means, what was the situation? Okay, you had a discussion and a fight, or you had a huge deadline, or you had a huge project. What was the task? You were supposed to prepare a report. What action did you do? How to solve that situation? And what was the result? So that means you can use any of your personal example from your work experience as this star. Try to use this method. Put your experiences as examples inside your selection criteria response. So this is where most of the candidates get a very good response, okay, from. Okay. So as I also discussed that we're going to discuss, if we don't have enough time, however, we've discussed a little bit about artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence nowadays, it's very common. So I encourage my students to use it. Why is it so? Because artificial intelligence is not just like Google. One thing that I recommend you today is that for creativity, okay, you can use artificial intelligence in terms of enhancing your information, but your examples have to be real. Okay, so that means that still the human factor will have to be in your documents. If you do not add that, another thing, I was applying for a job and I was supposed to write 100-word pitch, 100-word, okay, about myself. So when I finally wrote it and I just put it there was a little message written, 100% human written. Okay, so I didn't know that the job poster is actually checking how much AI is in my submission until I submit it. Okay, so it's really important. If you're submitting things created by AI 100%, it's not very easy. So sometimes job posters will also be looking at how much you have done yourself. So this is important. However, if you have like kind of analyzing data, interpreting data, looking at, finance, healthcare, manufacturing, like these kinds of functions, yes, you should be able. Also in IT. So in even some courses, we encourage and we expect students to use that. Okay. So my students ask me, what should we do? I tell them, yes, AI cannot replace you. However, someone who knows AI will probably replace you. This is very important. So you still think that there are ethical and social. If you are using AI for gathering information, for making a summary, if you're a researcher, you're using AI, there is a high chance that there is some ethical bias. There is something in the data that's not only 100% correct. So that's very detrimental for your application. So remember to use AI in terms of how much, because AI is not yet regulated as well. So that means you have to be very cautious. Okay. Another thing, empathy, creativity, emotional, these things will stay there because this is what makes us human, right? Okay. So that means AI should be used. It should be used like in a useful context. However, we cannot entirely rely on it for, all of the things that we are doing. There are a number of areas in which, for example, in IT or in some other instances, we see that it is used like, very. So there are many ways. So you can use some AI, like AI enhanced things. You can add up some very good add-ons onto your Google, onto your CV Maker. You can use AI enhanced professional education, career coaching. There are so many I've written some things here that you can help you to increase. Now, AI in classroom. So what I recommend most of my educators and most of the lecturers and even my students is that we have to have both. Okay? So we will do an assignment by using AI. Then you can do an assignment without using AI. We do an assignment by using AI, and then can we verify the information that we got from there? Okay, so it's very important. So I want the students to be exposed to the technology and also use it. So similarly for our CV generation or for employability, yes, we can use that information that's coming from AI, but we have to be careful in terms of how we're going to use it. But there are many creative and many, good tools that are coming. I made a list of some of very interesting, websites that I have been exposed to during some of my trainings. Especially I had a AI course that I did with Mackay University and Coursera. It was very informative. So there are some of the samples for if some of you, if you are working in classroom, that's only for not only for KG to like you 12 years, but also for senior students as well. So there are many resources that you can use to help you to increase your interaction. One thing that I didn't actually mention here is networking. Okay, so you are using a particular tool or you're using a particular technology. There are so many things. If you open LinkedIn, if you open any of the other platforms in which you can engage and interact, everywhere it's something related to AI that comes. So we really need to learn it. Okay, so network, try to make connections, meet people who know how to use the technology, use it and try to enhance your brand and try to enhance yourself no matter. So we go back to your original understanding of how you are gonna do a little bit of evaluation of your skills, how you're going to add on to that skills, and how you are going to show your employer that you have these skills in order to improve or maximize the chance of you getting a professional or like the job of your dreams, whatever you like. Okay, so usually it was because I started when I was starting, the internet was a bit slow, so I couldn't say this, but it's really I really enjoy talking to young people, to professionals who are in this thinking process. Thank you so much for giving me that opportunity. If you're in this thinking process of how to improve yourself, how to improve your career goals, and this is something that really relate to. I have worked as a career project assistant for many years during my PhD in Macquarie in Sydney. And I really enjoyed this phase, and mostly for my students. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It's indeed, and I'm specifically thankful to Maria, my friend and my previous colleague. When I was applying for this, I didn't know that she was there. So thank you so much for this opportunity. If you have any questions, and also if you would like to connect with me, or if you're a student or you're struggling with something, I'm always there. I'm happy to answer your questions. My email is there, my LinkedIn is there. Thank you so much, Maria, for this. Any questions you can send me. I'm here.
Thank you, Dr. Nazia. It was a pleasure and very insightful to learn all those nitty-gritties that we forget while we are applying for a job. So the floor is all open. Now the attendees can open their mics and communicate directly, or they can write in the chat box and I can read out their questions to our guest here. So you have 5 minutes or so left for the webinar time. So please go ahead. If you wish to communicate directly, please open your mic and communicate now. Or you can write any question if you wish, if you want to talk about something further. So we have Mansoor Ali saying it was a great presentation. I think it was clear and very informative. And again, I'm saying thank you so much for sharing innovative ideas. Any questions so far, attendees? Please go ahead.
Yeah, and also if you have any suggestions for me to improve, sometimes I'm talking to my students, you can also freely send me any suggestions for improvement, that in the future, if I conduct this workshop for my students, what should I add in that? That would be really great.
Okay, I think you were pretty clear and very informative that we are absolutely quiet about sharing anything.
That's fine.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much. I know it's late for you there in Australia, but we really appreciate your presence here with us today at the platform. And in the chat box, I'm sharing a link for the attendees. Kindly share your feedback and to receive your certificate of attendance. And I will share your feedback with Dr. Nazia as well.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Bye. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you so much for.
We have research-related webinars coming up soon. You just please stay in our subscription list. Keep on checking your emails, and you'll definitely hear from us soon. So we have all lined up And if you want to present or you want to be part of our presenters, please visit our website and our social media. There is call for presenters that you can submit your proposals in as well. Thank you so much. Bye for now.